Recording in progress.
Hello, and thank you for joining us today. We're happy to have you here. Just to get things started, I want to go through a few housekeeping rules here real quick. This whole webcast here to be interactive, and we want to be able to answer all of your questions. So if there are specific things that you'd like to bring up or specific things that you'd like to ask, please enter that into the Q&A. And we will attempt to answer them during the actual presentation itself if we can. So if one of us is presenting, the other will answer questions. And if we don't get to your question, we'll get to it at the end. We will have a long Q&A session at the end because we know that everybody is a little bit different in the way that they install and use Dante, and we want to make sure that you get your questions answered. There'll also be an opportunity to connect with some of our attendees later. So if you are not some of our attendees, excuse me, some of our presenters or some of our staff here. So if you have other specific questions that you'd like to go into more detail, you should be able to put in a request for a trial, and we can contact you directly and make sure that you are able to have that kind of conversation, a detailed conversation with us. So, uh, once again, thank you for joining us. To get started, I wanted to do some basic introductions. My name is Jim Kidwell, and I am the Principal Product Marketing Manager here at Audinate. I cover all of our software management solutions, so Dante Director, Dante Domain Manager, Dante Controller, a lot of those spaces, all of the software spaces, and I'm happy to talk to you about Dante Director Pro today. And with me here is Michael Oland. Michael, do you want to take a second to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Michael Oland. I'm a senior technical sales engineer here with Audinate, based in the Colorado area, and I'm more than happy to answer your technical questions as best I can and walk you through the product.
All right. Thank you, Michael. We're also all over the world here. So we do know that we have attendees from all over the world. So happy to have you all here. So we work with anybody anywhere. So if you are in a region that's outside of the US, please welcome. We are happy to have you here. We've had installs of Dante Director Professional all over the world, and we're happy to work with anybody anywhere. So you don't have to just be in the US. All right, to get started, I wanted to start it off with a quick poll. So, one of the things that is required for Dante Director is cloud access. It is a cloud tool, so that means it runs using AWS, running up in the cloud, and you do need to have your devices be able to connect to it. So, some people are in a place where you're already using a converged network, or if you have the option to go to the cloud, that you're there. If you're not there, then this might not be the tool for you right now, but it's still good to learn about it. We're working toward having an on-premise version of this. Right now, our on-premise tool is Dante Domain Manager. Some of you may be aware of that tool. That tool is a very powerful tool. It's been around for a long time. It does offer a lot of options for managing your Dante networks. But we have a lot of options. We still do want to know where people are and what their current abilities are within their networks. So I see a lot of people are responding already. This is great. Typically in the past, we've had usually about half of the organizations or half of the networks out there either have access currently or are moving toward a direction where that might be a possible option. There are a lot of tools that are coming out, not just from Dante, that offer a lot of cloud management capabilities. Some of the other tools that are available are much more narrowly focused. So, for example, Sennheiser has a tool that is a cloud-based tool that allows you to do some remote things. I know that I think Leah has one as well. There are a number of different things out there in the market, and we want to just understand where you are and what you have. So just so we get moving forward, I'm going to go ahead and end the poll here, and then we can actually look at what we have. So looks like about 13% are on a converged network. 14% have AV over IP networks there, so that's about what, 27%. Some have internet access, so that brings it up to about 50%, and then about 47. No, 27 says we would add it if we found the right need, so that's a good. And then no, we use a standalone or air gap network. So that has been the prevailing way that people think about AV networks is like, hey, we're going to install these and put them on our own network and just leave it that way. So that has been the right way to do it for a long time. So we fully understand that, and the everything is evolving here. So there's all of our results. That's what we're looking at right now. So thank you for responding to that. That helps us understand where we are. We do have some tools that we'll be able to show you today to better understand how you can give cloud access safely to help you move forward with a cloud-based posture if that ends up being what you want to do. But hopefully the tools we'll show you today will give you the confidence to be able to move forward properly. And hopefully you'll see the value in the tool, and it'll be something that'll be able to help you. So I wanted to do a few things real quick just to get our baseline here. Not everybody has the same level of knowledge. Within the Dante ecosystem, there are a couple of different ways to set up your networks. One is just the standard way Dante comes out of the box, which is considered an unmanaged state. So that means all the devices connect to each other, and when you connect to your LAN or your VLAN specifically for your Dante ADV devices, you plug your computer in, and the control signal comes directly through your switch and goes to all of your different devices, and then all the devices talk to each other. And when you plug into the VLAN, any computer that plugs in can manage that network using Dante Controller. When you're in a managed state, all of those devices are enrolled into a management software, such as Dante Domain Manager, or what we're talking about today, Dante Director. Those systems control all of the control signals. So that basically says, this is who you're talking to, this is where everything is going. And the only way that you can gain access is if you log into that server. So this adds a layer of security on top of it. And it also on top of your network, and prevents any misuse of your network, and it prevents anybody from coming in and routing a signal off over to someone else to listen in on something, or even break your network. Or even in higher ed institutions, we're finding that a lot of times students, being the squirrely little guys that they are, they can come in and mess with things just to have fun with things. So implementing a server like this, like Dante Director or Dante Domain Manager, can protect you in that way. So just so we're understanding that this is a step up from the standard Dante unmanaged network, which is the out of the box how everything works, and how Dante is very easy. This just adds another layer to it. Still keeps all of the ease of use of everything discovering each other and connecting to each other, but just adds that layer of control on top of it, and also monitoring and so forth. So we have tools that I've already mentioned today. We have three different groupings of tools that we have available. Dante Controller is available to everybody and is used in every situation. You've probably seen a lot of updates to that tool over the last year or so. We've done a lot of work on it to make sure that it's a lot more usable in a variety of different situations, mainly even dark mode. So if you're running a live show or working in a performance space, you don't have a glaring loud Dante Controller screaming at you. So that's been a great thing for us. Dante Director is, again, that cloud-based tool that allows you to do all of the management from the cloud-based infrastructure that is available to you. And Dante Domain Manager is a management tool that does require you to set up your own hypervisor and server on site that has access to everything else. So it allows you to group things in the same way that Dante Director does. It's just an on-premise tool. So right now, there's just a cloud version of Dante Director. In the future, we may have an on-premise version as well. So when would you want to use Dante Director Professional? It basically allows you to bring scalability to all of your different networks. So if you're having a large network, often you can't be at all places at the same time. It allows you to get to where you need to go and see exactly what is functioning, what isn't functioning, and perhaps even fix things that may have been broken inadvertently. So it allows you to do a lot of remote monitoring. It gives you that advanced security that I was talking about. It allows you to organize things into logical groupings that have discrete clocking within that group. So that basically keeps things like the best master clock algorithm from automatically kicking in every time you plug something in and saying, "Oh, who has the strongest clock? Who should be the clock leader?" So this basically gives you the confidence that all of your networks are going to be a lot more reliable, and you're not going to have any glitches that happen from things that are just basically as the system is designed. It also basically allows you to manage things from anywhere. You may have seen some of our advertisements out there saying, "Hey, can I access my Dante network from my couch?" Yes, you can with Dante Director. All you need to have access to is the internet, and then you can manage anything using any web browser, even your phone. So that is a great benefit of Dante Director. So as I mentioned, organizing things is really key. So understanding where that device is and routing devices to the proper devices. And so you're saying I'm routing the mic from room A to the amplifier in room A, rather than I'm routing the mic from room A to the amplifier in room B inadvertently, because you may not have named things correctly. Some of us may have really good naming conventions already in place. If you don't, I highly recommend you implement one that makes sense for you. The organizational capabilities within a product like Dante Director allows you to group things in places where it makes sense. It also allows you to assign users to those specific spaces. So if you have a team of support professionals, or if you are working in a higher ed institution where you have students who may be volunteers to help support with all of these things, you can give the proper level of access to the specific discrete areas to allow those people to do their jobs and help you out where they need to. So it allows you to kind of keep things going in the right ways without overexposing yourself to everything else. So say, for example, if you're in a higher ed institution and you have students who work in the theater, they need to be able to have access to move things around and reroute things and set things up as it's going to be for that particular production at that time. But you don't want them messing with your classrooms. That's a perfect example of where you want to give people discrete access and not in other areas. As I just mentioned, that level of security is also key. So when you enroll everything into Dante Director, it basically locks all of that control signal down, so only the right people can come in. And if you were to plug in using Dante Controller, you basically can plug into any network and you would see nothing as long as they're enrolled into Dante Director. So you would see nothing as you're plugging in there if you're an unauthenticated user. You need to actually be logged into the server to say, and then the server would say, these are the permissions that you have. This is what you can see. This is what you can change. So that adds that level of confidence that you would be able to have over the people having the right level of access. Additionally, we have been working on Dante Media Encryption, and media encryption is basically an encrypted signal from device to device. This is slowly rolling out right now. We have, I think, probably around 300 devices out there that support this right now because they contain the updated firmware. When those devices are enrolled in Dante Director, you can establish secure AES 256 encrypted signals from device to device. This is audio only at this point, and this is dependent upon the firmware being updated. So if you have specific devices that you're enrolling in Dante Director and you'd like to enable this and the device doesn't support it yet, Michael will back me up here. This is something that we want to encourage you to talk to that manufacturer and say, hey, why don't you just update your firmware? And updating your firmware can often help in these situations. Now, this is only available for a certain types of chips that are implemented into devices. So Brooklyn 3 devices and devices that are using DEP right now also support this, and we will be supporting IP core in the future, but those two are where we're starting, and then we're rolling it out to other chipsets as we move forward. All right. Another benefit of using a management system is networking support. So a lot of us know when we're setting up Dante networks, they can be wild and across large distances. So setting up VLANs and organizational systems is critical to make sure that those networked audio products and networked video products work properly and don't conflict with other type of traffic on your network. What Dante Domain Manager and Dante Director allow you to do is it allows you to cross those subnet barriers. It allows you to send signals from one subnet to another. So typically Dante is restricted to one particular subnet and you can't route a signal across to another subnet. And that's by design. That's to make sure that you're routing things in the right places. But in some instances, you may want to be able to route things from, say, a classroom to a larger overflow room. And those may be on separate VLANs. with Dante Director, you can create a group that contains all of those devices, and you're able to route signals across those sublands without respect to the underlying hardware. So that gives you a huge benefit over what you may have been able to do in an unmanaged state. So something to consider. So one of the great benefits, especially with going with Dante Director and Dante Domain Manager, is it does allow you to have API access to the actual software itself. So if you want to do any type of integration with other pieces of management and support software, this gives you the option to be able to pull data from the actual server itself to say, hey, what's going on with my server? Set up ticketing platforms, change Dante routing, so you can build custom interfaces using the API to enable pretty much anything. We've built some small integrations already. There are some that exist for BitFocus, for AMX, for Crestron, for Domots. There are all sorts of different types of integrations that you can already get from us, but you're able to build custom integrations whatever you want. We have a number of customers that are doing this already. They're saying, hey, you know what? I don't want something that's super complex for my end users, and I don't have any specific custom piece of controller software that I bought already. I'm just going to build something quickly because I know how to do this. And they've built these quick control systems. The signal can be sent up to Dante Director, and then Dante Director automatically makes all the channel switches. This can be any type of implementation you might want. Also, the one of the great benefits of Dante Director Professionals is it does include webhooks capabilities. So if you think of API access as a pull, like saying, hey, what's going on? Hey, what's going on? That's the way APIs work. Webhooks basically says, okay, when something happens, we're going to send out a notification to you. So that can be extremely helpful when you're working in a customer service oriented organization. Basically, all AV is customer service oriented. Nothing works. Nothing works unless you are actually customers working, right? So if your customers, using the system like they want to, they're able to communicate like they want to, it's amplifying, it's doing whatever they need to do, sending signals. But if something breaks, you want to know right away. So that's where webhooks come in. So webhooks can state, okay, when Director sees that something's gone wrong, it can send out a webhook notification to any type of third-party system like ServiceNow, PagerDuty, Zendesk, all of these other types of service management applications, and then you can be automatically notified via an email or via whatever that system does. If you have another portal or web page or whatever you've built, it'll automatically come up as a notification there. And we'll show you an integration here in a little bit that talks all about how this works and how it can help you keep your organization moving smoothly. So this can happen at any point in time. So hey, you know what? If something goes out in the middle of the night, you can know about it. You can go and fix it before your end users and your customers ever know that anything ever went wrong. So if you have an ITSM application that you're interested in integrating with, we may have existing integrations for a couple of these. I know we have for PagerDuty and ServiceNow, but these can be built for anything else too. It's basically just understanding the webhook data that's coming in and making sure that it's translated properly into what that target application is expecting. It's not rocket science here, but it's something that can be incredibly powerful for you and your users. We also have a number of other features that are really important to a lot of users, including the integration of SSO for user authentication. So making sure that, again, you don't have to go out and create a ton of different users. You can just make sure that SSO is integrated and they are authenticated using their same authentication password to get them up and running. So you can manage thousands and thousands of devices using Dante Director. If you have a very, very large network, we will support that. We have a number of customers existing who already are doing this or managing very, very large campuses, and we want to make sure that that they're adequately supported, and you can definitely do that here. You can also manage AES-67 routing with Dante Director Professional and Dante Director standard version as well, and which supports PTV-V2 clock support and GPS clocks and all of that. So as I said earlier in the webcast here, we do want you to be successful in giving cloud access to all of your devices. So we've built a white paper that's calling Securing Dante Networks for Use with SaaS Tools. This is available for free on our website. It talks about safely opening ports in the firewall, how you can restrict traffic to only the actual server itself. So depending on how open you want to be, or I mean, even how many other tools you want to use, you can restrict your traffic down very, very tightly and narrowly to this one particular server. It talks about how to do that safely. Michael can go into some of the more of the details during our demo here. And with that, I would like to pass it off to Michael so he can talk through the actual product itself and show you everything that it has there and how some of our new user interface changes have come about and how everything looks. So Michael, take it away.
All right, let me make sure I get the right screen. And I had some people say I'm a little quiet. If I'm still quiet, let me know. I'll boost my volume a little bit more. All right, so I've gone ahead and logged into Dante Director. So what we're looking at is what a university would look like. So we've got 3 campuses, 2 in France, 1 in Manila, and I'm obviously here in the United States. So I'm controlling them from here all over the world, which is one of the big advantages, in my opinion, of Director is now you can actually control from your desktop the rest of the entirety of your network. So now that I've logged in, one of the first things that everybody's going to want to know at the beginning of their, all right, I'm still a little low. Let me fix that. Let me know if that's better. I'm trying not to overshoot, but all right, there we go. Let me know if anybody thinks I'm still low. Let me know. So one of the things that I want to be able to do every time I get in and every day, I want to know what my audio network looks like at any given time. So when I log into Director, the first thing I can see on my homepage is an overview of my network. So in this particular case, you'll see that I've got 63 devices online. I've got 2 in error state, which I can drill into in just a minute. And I've got 12 locations. And again, I've got 2 that are in error. So right here, I know proactively what my day is going to look like, what issues I need to solve. If it says nothing, then I know I'm in pretty good shape. In this case, I do have 2 that I need to get into. From here, I can look and it'll give me a quick access to what's going on. So like I've got an amp in our parking structure in France that's giving me an issue and it just went away. You can see that it's updating online. We have people working on the network in that particular one. So I'm expecting these devices to come back in and out as they're working through that. But in particular, I've got this one here, this speaker, something's wrong with the subscription. So I need to look into that here in a minute. So from this overview, I can drill in and look at my individual locations. So I've got sites, 3 of them, and rooms, which we'll talk about just in a minute, how that organization works. And then if I wanted to, I could even go into the devices to see look at the individual devices and see which ones are in issue. And again, I've got this one that I need to look at here in a minute. So looking here on the left, you can see this is how I've organized my audio network. I've got 3 different sites, and within those sites, I have 3 different rooms. So these are all kind of mirrors of each other, but again, I can organize them this way. So this lets me take and try and bring management and organization to a rather large network. So I can then start drilling into them. So I'm going to go ahead into Leon campus because this is the one that I know has the subscription issue. And again, I can see within this site, I've got 21 devices, 1 warning, which is a clocking issue. Again, that's the one I was telling you about earlier. And I've got 1 in error. I'm actually going to drill into the classroom because this is the one where I know I have the error. So drilled into the specific room. Inside here, you can see my devices. So I can, again, go into the device list, take a look at what's going on. I can see this one has an issue. So what I want to do now is drill in and figure out what's going on. So I can see, so as I'm looking through it, and I meant to mention this earlier, you can see information about all of the devices. A lot of the same information you would get from the status screen in Dante Controller, you can get straight from within here. So the manufacturer, product information. You can even go in and talk about and set the importance, which we'll talk about in a minute. This dictates when you receive notifications or not. The site, and then you can put some other information like location, description, comments. So if you have information you want to be able to track, not a full-fledged asset management system, but at least a way of saying, hey, this is a device that I expect to be offline a fair amount of the time because it's something we pull out only periodically, or whatever you want to store in there. You can even get the IP address or addresses in the case of a redundant network, and some other information as well as clocking. Again, a lot of the same information that you could set and more than you can set in Dante Controller. The big one that's kind of nice too, and I know somebody asked earlier if you could make changes on the website without controller, and you absolutely can. So in this case, I see, oh, the channel name is not there. I'll have to go look and see here in a minute who did that. Looks like the channel name, you can see it was originally subscribed to channel 2. I want to actually go ahead and fix that. So I'm going to go ahead and right here, without pulling out a laptop, without pulling out controller, I could even do this on a mobile device. I can fix that subscription. And I'll go ahead and fix the other one real quick because we've got it subscribed to both left and right. Oop. And there you go. Without having to pull out controller or anything, I'm able to make the subscription changes right there. Now, what I'm curious about is who made that change. So if you are running unmanaged, one of the things that you don't really have is the ability to figure out who did what. With Dante Director, I can actually pull up an event log and say, okay, what happened? And if you'll notice, it's logged that I made the subscription changes. But if I scroll a little bit further back, I need to go just a little bit further. There it is. Here. You can see today at 7:58 a.m., I renamed the channel. So this is one of the things that you can do is you can take a look back and see who did what and pull them aside and say, hey, why did you do that? Or you can train them and explain why they shouldn't be doing that. Of course, you can also track issues over time. So you can see this is the events for the entirety of this particular room. And you can see that I've kind of got consistent issues with clocking. So that means this is something that I, as a admin, need to dig into and try to understand what's going on and why. And of course, as I'm drilling into the site, I can also, this would be more configuration, but one of the things that I can do is I can take a look at clocking. So by default, it's V1. I do have the option of setting V1 and V2 if need be, and I can set AES 67. So if you have need for AES 67 in this case, you can do it from within here. I'm not going to make the changes. I don't want to break audio as people are currently using it. And of course, I can come down here and I can set up some clocking information. This particular room is only on one subnet, so I don't have to set up anything for like unicast clocking or anything like that. But if I want to set preferred leader, I can do that, manage the V1 delay requests as well. This gives me a lot of control over how the network works and tries to help control the number of like clock changes and things along those lines. So one other advantage to moving into a managed Dante network, I've talked to a lot of customers that have issues with clock elections because they've got big networks, things along those lines. One of the things that you can do with Director is as you start creating these rooms and sites, it does break your network down. So I've got, if I were to go to classroom 1, you can see this is 21.0. If I come over here to these, you can also see that they're 21.0, but they have separate clock leaders. So a lot of times people say, hey, I want to make sure something is a master clock. One other option is something like this, where you break your network down into smaller pieces and say, here, you devices group together, you devices group together, and they only do the clock election within that particular group of devices. So in addition to that, we can also, again, you can also drill into the devices. Let's talk a bit more about the importance because that talks about notifications. So one of the big things that you want to be able to do when you're managing a network is understand when something is wrong. So what you really want to avoid is that call and said, hey, my thing's not working. I'm getting ready to start a class. I'm getting ready to start a meeting. Things aren't working. You really would like to know when things are happening so you aren't reactive, you're being proactive. And that's what our notifications allow you to do. So You can, by default, do email notifications. So say, hey, I want to get an email when something goes offline. But one of the things you don't want to do, and one of the things that we want to avoid, is lots of notifications about things that don't matter. So, for example, you might have an AVO that sits in the corner that's you pull out once a month for some kind of meeting or something that just isn't always online. You don't want to get notified of that. So, when you pick your device, you can decide whether you want high importance, normal, or low importance. And then when you come into your notifications, which is under the user settings, I can determine whether I want normal, high, or low importance devices to notify me. So if I don't want to know about low importance, I don't have to. I can just say set those devices that are not online regularly to low importance, and then I won't hear about them unless I go in and check. But if I've got a DSP, mixer, something along those lines that must be on, you tag that as high importance and it will let you know. And speaking of notifications, I showed how you can do email notifications. We also have the ability to do webhooks. I think Jim mentioned that earlier. And that would give you the ability to integrate with some other kind of notification system. I'll show you here in a second one that we've set up. But if you've got something like a ServiceNow or some other ticketing system that you use to track issues, this is a way to integrate with that. So here's what it looks like. I've used PagerDuty because it's one, I've got a IT background and it's something I'm familiar with. So as you can see here, this is how we're sending the notifications. So I've got notifications that have come across. I can then track them within the system. I can resolve them within a system. So it integrates with the tooling. It can integrate with the tooling you already use. So here's an example of what one would look like. On this date, this device in this account had a subscription error. This is the one that I caused. So I can then go react to it just as I normally would, or I can send it off to someone else and say, hey, I need you to go solve this for me. So I know a lot of you guys, a lot of you are familiar with Dante Controller, and that's what you're used to using. The good news within Director, you can still use Controller. So if you notice, if I click on Open Dante Controller, it actually kicks straight over to Controller and it shows me the devices that are enrolled into that particular site. You'll see here it says domain. This is history. We have domain manager on-prem. We call them domains. Director, we call them sites. So if you see domain, think site. But again, I can make changes from here just as if they were local. So I don't have to use the web interface. If I'm more efficient or more comfortable with Controller, not a problem. You can use it. And again, I'm controlling devices from Controller that are all over the world. So if I go back into, excuse me, there we are. Go back into this classroom. This is the one that I fixed earlier. So again, if I wanted to, I could have made the change right from within here if I wanted to. And I can go ahead, double click on the device, same as you're used to. You can see the signals, you can see the status, latency, device configuration, all of that. In fact, this is how I broke it earlier. I chose to rename the channel right here. That's how I broke that. So other than that,
on it there that I think is really important to emphasize is this is all over the world. So these devices themselves are actually in Lyon, France. And so is the other one. We have two different ones that are sitting in France and one is in Manila in the Philippines. So we're managing these from the United States and you can have access from anywhere. So we have Rutgers University that we're working with right now who has a 15 miles of campus and their office is in one location. Can they manage all of those classrooms across those 15 miles very easily? Yes and no, but when something breaks, do you want to necessarily always run there to figure out what was wrong? No. So they'll pull up Dante Director. They'll say, "Oh, it looks like this device is, somebody messed it up somehow. They unplugged it or whatever." So they can even instruct the end user to say, "Hey, can you look at this device? Oh, looks like it's unplugged. Plug it back in." They had that exact instance. One instance that Ed over there told me about recently that I thought was really interesting was that he was driving to something with his family and along the road and somebody called him up saying, hey, you know what, everything's not working. So he pulled over, he tethered his phone to his laptop, pulled up his version of Director, and they also have another tool that they've integrated into, and immediately saw in Dante Director, oh, this device is offline. So he had the guy click the power button on that other device, and it immediately came up. He was able to validate that all of the routes and signals were done properly while he was sitting beside the road, and then keep going with his family down the road. So it was very good for him to be able to remotely access this, and he didn't even need to go to campus to fix everything. So that remote access can be really, really key and critical in many different instances. Sorry to interrupt there, Michael. I had to share that.
No, no, that's great. I love hearing stories like that because it's one thing for me to say it works. It's another thing for somebody else to say it works. So while we're here, I did just want to point out, I think Jim mentioned earlier encryption. For those of you who are looking, you'll see things that look a little bit different than you're used to. If you see this green lock, this indicates that the devices are actually encrypting the audio signal. This says it's capable of it. This actually shows how it is. So it's just something that you'll see as you get more and more devices that are capable of it. And if you start using this, you can absolutely see how that works and see, be able to track what can, and you can even enforce whether encryption needs to happen or not.
And you do need Dante Director to enable this level of encryption. And then you can, if you want to go into the encryption options, that might be interesting for people to see here too,
Sure.
to show how you encrypt it and how you can set it up by site.
So in this particular case, I've got a site that says compatible. So that way we can support devices that don't have it. You can even then go into the devices themselves. No, helps if you pick one that receives, not one that submits. So actually, no, hang on. I apologize. I'm going backwards and forwards. So transmit, there we go. So this is what I was looking for. You can say whether it's compatible, which says, hey, I can, it will encrypt if it can. If you click on strict, it'll only allow you to transmit to devices that can receive encrypted signals. So you're in control as to whether you want to say, look, do it if you can, or nope, this is a medical situation, or this is a C-level boardroom. We need to make sure it is. So don't allow it to transmit audio to something that can't receive encryption.
Yes.
So
Perfect. Thank you.
yeah, no problem. There are a couple of last things that I want to touch on, which is Jim talked about the ability to control who can do what. So when you're onboarding a new user, you can grant them various levels of access. For starters, they can have access. You can be a full admin. They can add and remove sites, devices across the entirety of your network. You can even drill down and say, I only want this person to have access to one room. So they can be a local admin, which means they can control the local devices, or they can be a viewer, and all they can do is just see. That's all they can do. We have the ability to apply that setting at a site level. That actually cascades down to the individual rooms. So if you want to grant like a site level or a building level admin access, you can do that and say, hey, guess what? You get to control all of them. Somebody pointed this out to me the other day. I don't think I knew this, but you can click on the information. It shows you what permissions are available to each person. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I want to make sure if you start looking at this, you can click on that at any part, at any time, just to see what the rights are. So once you grant this, then if a person logs in, they only see these particular sites and rooms as opposed to seeing the full network. Other than that, let's see, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I sort of got myself off track a little bit and trying to make sure I've covered all the important parts. Jim, can you think of anything I'm missing? I feel like I've covered most of it, but
So yeah, we haven't gone into the integrations yet. So do you want
correct,
to
yes.
show the webhooks integration with PagerDuty?
I did show that a minute ago. I didn't
Good.
show the calls in, but it is a good point. If you have something like a BitFocus, or I know a couple of people have asked about other products, how they can call in, you can absolutely do that. We have an API, so it's just a matter of coming in and adding an account key, telling it what it has access to and what it can do, and then you can use that in a third-party system. I'm a programmer at heart, have been for 20 some years, so I built some programs that actually wrap around it, but I know we have some, and I think Jim, you mentioned some of the third-party integrations that are available. But if you are working with another product that you would like to be able to, that would be the integration hook that you could do that. So somebody did ask, and I didn't get a chance to talk about this yet, can we do cross-site audio? Not at this point. Jim, do you know?
So that is something that people frequently misunderstand about what the product does. So a lot of times people are looking for the ability to send audio signals across the internet. Dante Director and Dante as a technology in general, it sends the full audio stream. So it is a full uncompressed audio stream, and video has various levels of compression, but still, we do not enable site-to-site audio transmission with this. This is simply the control signals. So the only thing that will ever be leaving your system or coming into your system is that control signal. So if you're looking for other types of site-to-site transmission, there are a couple of other tools that will allow you to do that, but typically they integrate some level of compression within them to be able to force that over the public internet. Now, there are people that do something we have kind of given the kind moniker of Dante over distance. So if you have a private WAN that is supported with fiber, dark fiber that's connecting all of your different sites, you can using Dante Domain Manager. It's not currently implemented within Dante Director yet, but you can set up the ability to send signals from location to location. You just need to be able to keep the latency between devices below 40 milliseconds. Standard Dante requires 20 milliseconds of latency. That's the maximum level that you can have. Typically, people are down to 1 millisecond or even less. So we have a very, very fast protocol that allows you to send signals from place to place, but you can stretch that out to 20 milliseconds using a standard network, including Dante Director. But if you want to go over distance and even farther, you need to be able to use Dante Domain Manager, and that uses something called zones, and that will enable you to send those signals across long distances if you have a WAN. This isn't the public internet. This is only your private WAN.
And another question that's come up is the cross-site audio sharing. You know how we had cross-domain audio sharing?
Yeah.
I know it's not in the product. Do you know what's the
That is
status?
coming very soon. So there are a couple of features that are on the roadmap that are in development right now. So this is obviously an active product. We are constantly changing it. If you've come to our webcast before, or if you've played with our software, you have seen this product mature and change and grow dramatically. I don't know if Michael stressed enough on this, but the user interface has matured so much here. So the ability of information that you can access quickly using the interface has changed dramatically. Now, integrating new features is something we're actively working on. The sharing of audio between different sites is something that we can implement. We are working to implement right now. So audio sharing is something we're working on. You can still right now, if you do create a site that contains multiple different VLANs, that is something that's very easy to allow you to share audio across multiple sites. If you multiple VLANs, if you put them all into the same site. But
I have that actually pulled up right now, Jim, to that
yeah, go ahead.
directly to that point, because somebody had specifically asked about that. So
Sure.
this is a site that actually has, you can see devices are on two separate subnets and they are communicating. If I were to open Dante Controller directly, you'll see that they just appear as one specific site. All of these devices can be routed to each other. The key is dealing with this unicast clocking. You need to elect one or two devices in each subnet to be unicast clocking, meaning that they can either receive clock from the grand leader or send it, or be the grand, send it to the other subnet. In fact, right now I've got that set up here. The audio that's coming out my speakers is on a separate subnet than the rest of my network. I run it that way all the time. Somebody asked me once, how does it work? Well, I run it constantly just for that particular purpose.
Yep.
So
So we're moving into the Q&A here. I think this is great. So please keep entering your questions into the Q&A panel. We're happy to answer as many questions as you have. We'll try to get into the more detailed ones if possible. And if we don't get to yours, please be sure to send us a message, or we'll try to reach out to make sure that we can answer your detailed questions. Here's a question that came up. Does Dante work with Wi-Fi? So let me parse that question out. So